Hello, everyone, friends, family, and folks. Welcome to the Lost Caravan RPG. Hereabouts, we do one shots, mini series, long running campaigns. If it's TTRPG, we pretty much do it all. My name is Rise, and I will be in charge of this little get together tonight. And tonight, we are going to be playing Old Gods of Appalachia, based on the podcast of the same name and published by Monty Cook Games. And before we get in tonight, we want to do a couple little I got some words of thanks and I got some words of warning. So, to start off with, we want to thank Monty Cook Games, who is our sponsor for this entire shindig from start to finish. We really appreciate them doing what they're done for us, and we look forward to hopefully making it worth their while. Now, I will say, Old Gods of Appalachia is a horror role playing game, and therefore, you got to be careful. It might not be suitable for all audiences. Now, we'd like to take our safety tools real serious, and we've all talked about it and gone over the kind of things that we do and don't want to see, but one thing we can't protect necessarily is y'all at home. So if something comes up and you find yourself maybe not being into it too much, feel free, step away, take a walk, get a drink, whatever you need to do, and if you want to come back to us, we'll welcome you gladly, and if not, well, maybe we'll catch you another time. So with that being said, I'd like to kind of go around here and talk about who we've got at the table, let them introduce themselves, and tell you who they're playing. And I'm going to start off here with the top of my list, and that is Ian.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kian. You can find me on Twitter at uptight_chiffon. And tonight I am playing Ellis Witt, a beholden sage who knows the unknowable. Is there anything else you want me to throw in there, GM, or are we just going to leave it at that?
I honestly think that's a good way to get it started.
Awesome.
All right, so next up we have JD.
Hi there, I'm JD. You can find me around the internet as JD Lane, and tonight I am playing Stella. She is a cursed speaker who becomes the beast.
All right, and Alice.
Hi guys, I am Alice, she, they pronouns, and tonight I'm playing Evelyn Harper, who is a curious sage who serves the green.
And Omen.
I'm Omen. Today I'm going to be playing Emil Pierce, who is a generous sage who calls home the hounds.
All right, from there we'll go to Sean.
Hi, I'm Sean, he, him pronouns, and tonight I'll be playing Virgil Stokes, a loyal speaker who speaks in tongues, also he, him pronouns.
Awesome. And that will take us to Taylor.
Hi, I am Taylor, she, her pronouns, and I will be playing Yona, the vengeful protector that manifests the mountain. I remember that before I found it in my notes. Also, she, her.
Yes, Yona, our one and only muscly person in the group today.
Got you.
All right. Well, with that out of the way, I think we can go ahead and get down to things here. So, most everyone in these parts has at least heard of the Volstock Wanderers, and more than you might think have had the opportunity to catch one of their itinerant musical showcases. Now, the Volstocks have been a staple in the small towns and backwater locations of the Appalachian Mountains for nigh on 30 years at this point. And while the founders of the show have moved on into retirement down in Cincinnati, their son Gregory keeps the music and the excitement alive. And over the years, the Volstocks have picked up performers of all stripes in their travels, giving them the safety of like minded fellows and the opportunity to showcase their talents and earn a stable living. Well, as stable as a permanent roadshow can be, that is. But it has always been kind of an open secret with the Wanderers that they tend to take on, well, more than just wandering musicians. Folks who don't fit in most places, those who prefer not to be found in one place too long, or simply those who might believe what others don't. Earn your keep, maintain the company, and help those in need. It's been the Volstock way for as long as anyone can remember. But sometimes, folks, that way can lead the Dark Wanderers into dark places indeed. Now, tonight finds the Wanderers setting up in the small town of Bannock's Crossing, Tennessee. And they've got their stage set up and folks milling back and forth, getting everything ready to go for just a little bit of a show tonight. Meanwhile, the small audience has started gathering already. Now, Bannock's Crossing isn't exactly what you call a large municipality. At this point in time, there's probably 24 people that permanently live there. Half of them probably be gone within the next 5-10 years, given the way things are going. But the Wanderers make it a point to stop in these little places just to spread a little bit of their music and their way about, just so that everyone knows they ain't forgotten, even out here in the hollers and hills of Appalachia. So, that being said, I think it's a good time to check in with our cast and figure out just what everybody would be doing right before the show begins. Ken, why don't you tell us a little bit about what Ellis would be doing right before the stage?
You keep calling on me first, and I feel like I should have been prepared this time around.
Look, on my screen, you're like right there. You're
That's
like
okay.
the first
That's
person I see.
I'll take it as an honor. Ellis is pretty quiet, keeps to themselves. So they would have found a small spot, kind of on the outskirts where they can observe everything going on, keep tabs on people, see and make sure that everybody who's here should be here. And they're probably fiddling with some of the plant life there. They might be weaving it into maybe a flower crown or some kind of basket. You're never really sure what's going to come from their hands. But they have just, they're kind of sitting quietly to themselves. They are not one of the chattier members of the Wanderers. So they like to just find a quiet spot and see if they can, catch any gossip or drama or pick up on anything anyone is saying.
Now, was Ellis more hanging out near where like the townsfolk would be?
No.
Or okay.
No,
So
I am with my family. I have enough trust issues as it is. I am not trying to immerse myself with these new strangers too much.
gotcha. Well, and from Ellis's point of view, everything seems to be going pretty well so far. It's nothing unusual, nothing special. It's just kind of your typical night show. Well, I say night, but it's kind of a say early evening. Sun's still up and just above the horizon, so there's some light, but there are some torches and stuff already set up.
Do any of the performers seem nervous or a little bit jittery or anything like that, even if it's just pre-show nerves?
I'll say there's one fella. He's fairly new, maybe 3-4 months that he's been on the road with the crew, but he typically plays a mandolin in the shows. Something that he learned from probably his granddaddy, to be honest. And he's got a little bit of the jitters. He's kind of walking around in the back a little bit, just kind of pacing. Got his instrument held in one hand, maybe mumbling to himself a little bit, just kind of trying to work things out.
I kind of take a peek at him, and I've seen him around a little bit, so I kind of have a sense of exactly how big I need to make a bracelet for him. But I'm gonna weave one together out of some twine that I have, and gonna kind of find some flowers, and I'll go up and just kind of. Everyone does great. Everyone's really nice about this. You'll kind of see these around, and I'm gonna hand him a bracelet that honestly is on a couple of people's wrists because, as reserved as I am, this is still as close to a family as I have. Hopefully this will give you a little bit of comfort, but don't sweat it too much. You're going to have a great time.
He stops and kind of looks down for a second at this, and he kind of gives you like a shy kind of smile. He's kind of a twiggy sort of fella, all long and gangly, and yeah, not much to him. Looks like he'd blow away in a stiff wind, and he just kind of went, "Thank you, Alice. That's mighty kind of you. I appreciate it. And you know what? let's just make this a great show tonight.
It's all we can ask. And I will very quickly retreat back to my corner because I don't want to draw too much attention to myself. And I will sit back and kind of keep an eye and offer words of comfort or encouragement as I need.
Excellent. JD, what's Stella up to? I think you're muted.
Let's try that again. All right. So Stella is with the other musicians, going over last checks, making sure everybody has what they need, making sure all of the stuff is where it's supposed to be. You know, instruments got loaded out properly and everybody got set up, and just once she is comfortable in her own way of like knowing everything is okay, she's probably just gonna sit down on something and just probably swig a little moonshine and just try to chill out a little bit.
What so does Stella have an instrument or
Stella is a percussionist.
percussionist? Oh, okay, excellent. Well, as you're sitting there, and another fella comes up, and you know him more as a road hand, so to speak. He's not a performer himself, but he's one of those kind of big, beefy fellas who tends to lift heavy things and move things around at other people's directions. And he kind of sidles up, seeing you there with that bottle. He's like, "Oh, now hold on there, just a hair." He kind of looks back and forth, and he reaches inside his coat, this big kind of battered coat, pulls out a beat up metal flask. Looks like it's probably been tossed down a cliff, bounced off a tree. It's got dents all and scratches all over it. It's been around for God knows what. He kind of gives another look around like he's making sure ain't nobody paying attention to y'all. Give this a shot here. That's good stuff. That'll put hair on your chest. And yeah, that stuff burns. That is
That's strong. That is strong.
And he just gets this big groovy grin. He's like, "I made it myself.
You done good.
That's my grandpappy's recipe."
I like it.
Takes it back, slugs it himself, and you see his eyes just kind of widen for a second, and he's, "Yeah, that's how you start the night off." He'll slip it back in his coat and kind of head off for the evening to find himself a good place to watch now that most of his chores and such are done. So, Alice, what's Evelyn up to?
Evelyn has been helping get dinner ready for all the performers and everything. Make sure that everyone is set before anyone needs to go on stage. There's a banjo perched off to the side. She is so called on to help with accompaniment tonight. But her first and foremost focus is to make sure everyone's fed and is on stage with a warm belly.
You've got to, even as you're, at this point, we're kind of in the point where we're kind of cleaning up and such before people go on. But even still, this close, you got a small passel of folks that are kind of helping you out there and stacking things and carrying them over to the washing area where they've got some tubs and such set up to make sure everything gets all cleaned up and everything. And a couple of them, there's not so much in the way of kids that are part of the group. Not the road's generally not a great place to raise kids, even though old Gregory, who's in charge, was raised almost entirely on the road. But there are a couple that their parents are performers and such, and one of their chores tends to be helping out with the cleaning and the cooking and all that kind of stuff. So you know them pretty well. There's one little girl in particular, her name is Elise. Just as blonde as all get out, little blue-eyed thing, and see, she is always trying to keep up with the adults, and she's even though she's like 10, and you see her just stacking dishes here and trying to carry them off, and it's looking a little precarious at the moment as she starts kind of wobbling back towards.
Seeing this, Evelyn is just gonna kind of like sweep by and take about half that stack from her. Darling, I need something to do myself, and you are such a big help, but if I have empty hands, they're gonna call me lazy.
Well, Miss Harper. Okay. Well, if you need to, yeah, that's fine. I didn't
Gotta
need your
keep
help,
me.
but I could do it. I could do it myself.
You had everything else, don't worry. Like I said, I gotta keep busy hands or they're gonna toss me out of here.
Okay. Well, I wouldn't want that to happen to you. You're awful nice.
You are too, darling. Sweep it off into the dish pit.
Yeah, she does the same, and then goes back and she, just general cleanup stuff, and she gets to bossing around a couple of the other folks, and they smile and nod at her. Alrighty. So from there, Omen, why don't you give us a little hint of what Emil's up to?
So he's a doctor. He's one of the troops' doctors. So I think he's quite busy right now. He's like moving from person to person, making sure everyone's feeling all right. If anyone's complaining about pains or anything of the like, he'll see about getting them some medication. And it's not just the people. He also takes a special interest in like any of the animals that are going to be brought to the show. If there's like any of them that seem to be favoring limbs or any of them that seem to be in a foul mood, he's just kind of checking up on everyone, and he is quite busy as a result.
Say, right about now, there's a lady, and she goes by the name of Gretchen, and everybody knows that if you got anything to do with the animals, as the horses or whatnot, that Gretchen is the one to go to. She seems to know more about animals and like animals a lot better than she does people. But that being said, she is not a doctor herself or nothing, so she is currently fussing over one of the horses and is almost violently waving you down. Come here, come here.
Yeah,
Emil, I need you over here.
I'm on it, I'm coming over. And he would have excused himself from whoever he was talking to and like shuffle on over. What's going on? What's going on with this horse?
She's standing there with one of the horses that pulls the wagons. It's a big beefy cart horse and chestnut brown, and she's kind of holding the horse's head. And she's like, look at that eyeball. Does that look bloodshot to you?
Yeah, I think Emil would kind of like just nudge her and like take the horse in his own hands and kind of look it over and no more than usual.
Are you sure? Because I swear it didn't look quite that red yesterday.
I mean, I bet he's a bit stressed being in the city, but otherwise, I think he's going to be fine.
Because if any one of these hooligans got one of these horses sick, I'm gonna put my boot where the sun don't shine.
I fully encourage you to do so. They're messing with their animals; they deserve it. Oh, but again, he should be fine. Is there anything else you need from me?
Well, I suppose if you say it'll be fine, then it'll be fine.
All right, well,
Yeah,
if it suits you any, I'll
didn't mean
keep
to
an
bother
eye
you
on
now,
him.
but I would do that. You go and enjoy the show. I'm gonna stay back here and take care of these.
Thank you, man. I'll do my best.
And she goes back to. She's got a comb and a brush, and she's brushing out, and get the definite feeling that Gretchen may be overreacting just a little bit anytime it comes to the animals. So, all right, Sean, where's Virgil?
I think Virgil's by the other musicians as well. He's there with his violin, probably performing warm-up scales and the like, in a very manner reminiscent of someone who has classical training before feeling like he's warmed up enough, and then kind of switches over to more of a fiddle style to match what is probably actually going to be played as opposed to how he's been trained previously.
So there's a performer that and you've long since realized has some of the same training that you do, which is kind of unusual around these parts. You don't get too many people that are more classically trained and such.
Right.
A lot of this is folks learn from their family, and that's where they figure out how to play instruments in these parts. But this fella, at one point lived up in Boston, and that's where he went to school and got most of his learning and stuff. Doesn't really say much about how he ended up down here in the Appalachians as opposed to up there in the big city, but he tends towards the guitar himself. So so at the beginning there, the two of you are able to kind of collaborate and get some of this more professional classical warm-up kind of thing going, and a little bit of harmony and melody there between the two of you, and you definitely draw some looks.
Right.
A lot of the other performers and even other cat crew members and such like that, they tend to stop and watch y'all when you get into that stuff, because they're just like, because it's not the kind of music that you hear a lot of around here. It's something different, and anytime y'all get into it, they just they tend to stop and stare for a minute, and not appreciatively, and they're like, oh, man, I don't know where they learn to play like that. That's some playing. Now play something real.
All right.
And then you get into the fiddling and a little bit more down homesy stuff.
Right.
But you and this fellow Mark, run through some scales and some tuning and such, and get everything all set to go. And he just gives you a smile at the end, and you tell this is a man who lives on the stage and is raring to go.
Yeah, let's go have some fun out there.
Anytime I can. Anytime. Taylor. So Yona and old Granny Thorn out here in the audience, and as is befitting a town that's this size and culture, and everybody gives Granny, they give her leeway. You respect the elders, you respect those that come before you, and those that have been around for a long time. So it don't take much. She can get as close to that front as she wants, find any seat she wants, get one of the comfortable seats too, not just a stump someone pulled over. So what's Yona feeling like right now?
Yeah, I think, Yona's sticking close to Granny, is there for about anything that she would need, though. Acts a little begrudgingly about it, and really there for about anyone in town needs, but acts begrudgingly about it, and is probably trying to, like, not look anyone in the eye. Is just not wanting to have a conversation today with anybody, not wanting to be pulled into anything, but is just kind of along like, hi, hello, okay, fine. Just trying to kind of brush everybody off and get sat down in a bubble.
And most folks around these parts are at least somewhat familiar with you. Like I said, it's not a big area. There's not too many people around here. It's kind of hard to blend in. And while there's nobody here, I would say, that really knows you. They know who you are. They know that you tend to hang out with Granny and help her whenever she needs it. So, they give you the respect of knowing that you're a helpful person and that you're not a threat or anything. But at the same time, you're also kind of a kind of a mystery to most folks around here. You know, they don't know where you came from or, you know, how you ended up here. So you do get the occasional side eye, maybe a whisper here and there, but over the years that you've been around, it's kind of died down, and most folks just kind of accept you at this point.
It's turned from like whispers and side eyes to a little more like, could you help me with my shutters? And I'm like, damn, that
Oh, there's
mystery's
definitely
starting to
that.
wear off.
Especially you get a few of those. You get a few of the older ladies around here. They're like, "Oh, Jonah, you know, you're just so strong and helpful that I got this bag up here on this shelf, and I can't quite reach it. And you know what? I can't even straighten up that long anymore. The old bag is just
Ethel, I
bent and
bought you a
curved, and
step stool.
you kind of get that a lot. So with everybody in place, and everybody's kind of feeling a little bit of the nerves that come with any show. It's Gregory Volstock comes out on stage and say old, but Gregory at this point is he's about 40 or so. And his family was the one who started the troupe and have since retired, but he's taken it over and he does a pretty good job with it. And you all know him. You've seen him before in the past when they've come through town. He's always the first one on stage, and he's got that presence, and everybody knows he's in charge. And so he comes on out, dressed up, and he's got his just a plain flannel shirt, some nice pair of pants, and some heavy boots. Nothing too fancy. He comes out, kind of looks around, got a big old smile on his face, and spreads his arms, and he's like, "Friends, family, and folks, welcome to the show. We are, as you probably know, the Volstock Wanderers, and we are just happy as anything to be back here in Banff's Cross to give you all a little evening of music and festivity. Now, tonight, we have some fantastic songs that we're going to be playing for you, and I've even got a new fella who says that he can juggle just about anything. So we're going to put that to the test and see if we can't keep him from dropping something on his head. And then afterwards, we're all going to hang out for a little bit and just talk and get to know each other. And I hear there's some cakes and pies in the offing as well. So with that being said, I'm going to get off of here because y'all don't want to listen to me yet. And I'll get to people that you really want to listen to. And there's a little bit of applause and such. And he kind of backs off the stage. And when I say stage, it's maybe 10 by 10 wooden pallets kind of thing set up for everything. It's a temporary structure, definitely not a permanent thing here in the square. With that, the musicians come out. We get started, and the night goes on with music here and there, and probably a couple dozen songs at least throughout the night, and interspersed with a couple of other things here and there. You've got the aforementioned juggler, and you've got one lady with a dog who says she can make it do all kinds of tricks, and half the time the dog don't want to agree. So occasionally you get something funny out of it, and other times the dog decides to lay there and look at you. But she tries. So the night goes on, and afterwards, everybody you get some folks who disperse back to their homes and everything, but the majority kind of tend to hang around. As mentioned, there are a number of cakes and pies that are brought out for dessert, for a special treat. A lot of the different people in town have made these, and they come out and, they've got, it's dark by this point, but set out some tables out here, and there's a number of torches and lanterns and such hanging around here to give plenty of light. And all the crew, townspeople, everything, we just start to mingle. It's one of the typical things for the Volstock Wanderers is they don't keep themselves apart from the people that they come to entertain. Generally afterwards, there's always a Wouldn't call it a meet and greet, but you might as well. All the folks like to come in, and half the time there's going to be spontaneous music breaking out one place or another, and you never know if it's going to be one of the actual performers or just some random townsperson that's going to start. It's going to bring out the banjo and just start a tune-up. Yona, as this all's going on, Granny kind of looks at you and is like, "All right, now I want to go talk to Gregory. It's been a while since he's been in town, and I want to catch up and see how his folks are doing. So, make me a pass."
All right. Gets up and just like puffs up and just walks. Like people just need to get out of my way.
And Granny and her 4.5 feet of not much, kind of trundles along behind you with her cane, and she's just walking along and saying hi to folks as they go, and everybody's just kind of moving. They see you coming, and they're like, "Nope, I need to get the heck out the way."
I'm just like, you don't want to deal with Granny, move. Let's go.
Exactly. Yep. No one wants any of that fire. So it's not hard to find Gregory. He's over, kind of holding court, so to speak. And there's a number of other crew members there, as well as a smattering of townsfolk and such, all kind of just sitting around and talking. I won't say they're passing a bottle because technically that's illegal, even though there might be a couple under the table that, nobody actually sees. And as you get closer, and it kind of spreads out a little bit, and Granny kind of pushes past you. "Gregory Volstock, how you doing, boy?" Gregory looks up and is like, "Granny Thorn, as I live and breathe. What's it been? 5, 6, 7 years? Too damn long. That's how long it's been. How your folks doing? How's Alexander and Estelle? You tell me. You been up there to visit them lately?" He's like, well, I suppose it's been a little bit there. I've been busy and stuff. You ain't gone up there to visit your parents? God damn it. Now, Gray, you gonna... That's it. Here, introduce me to some of these folks here. And Gregory is like, "Oh, yeah, sure, Granny." And he kind of goes around the circle and is like, "Well, this is Stella, and this is Ellis and Emil. This is Virgil, and this is Evelyn. And they're fantastic people to work with, and they're valued members of our crew. Folks, this here is Granny Thorn. She's lived in these parts for, we'll just say it's probably a really damn long time, because I know my folks used to talk about her. And she's well respected around here, so I want y'all to treat her nice. And sorry, I don't think I know your companion there, Granny. You want to introduce yourself?"
Surprised that like was paying attention to fully something else. And I was like, "Oh, Yona, nice to meet you." Oh yeah.
She's real helpful. Like, she helps me out with all kind of stuff, especially since I can't go out in that cold weather no more. Makes the lumbago hurt like something else. Yeah, it was a mighty fine show y'all put on tonight. Always like it when y'all come through. Very nice. I especially like that fiddling there, son. You did a great job. I do love me some fiddling.
It's
The
much
dog was
appreciated.
quite impressive. It was cute.
And so the conversation kind of goes on a little bit. And there's a lot of back and forth between Gregory and Granny, and a lot of catching up. And she chastises him several times about not going up and visiting his folks at any time soon, and makes him promise to go do it as soon as he is capable. And she comes across as maybe a little bossy, but then again, At this point, she looks like she's been around for about 150 years and probably has the right to boss around just about anybody she wants. And it's probably been about an hour after the show, and everybody's kind of relaxed, and a lot of people have kind of scattered around at this point when you hear kind of a cough. It's like like someone's trying to get attention. And you look up, and like I said, most people are gone at this point, but there's a fella standing there. He's probably a good 15 feet away at this point. Kind of bundled up in a pretty long coat, gloves, wide brimmed hat on his head. Honestly, seems a bit unusual for the weather currently, because it may be early summer, but it's fairly warm. It's been a nice night, and most people are in their shirt sleeves and such. Not this fellow. Granny kind of looks up at him and stops for a second. She's got kind of an unreadable expression on her face.
I inch a little closer to her.
Excuse me. You Granny Thorne? She kind of tilts her head. She's like, "Hey, that's me. And who would you be?" My name's Caleb, ma'am. And I think I need your help. Granny kind of looks up at you and glances around at everybody else, and help with what, son? As you can see, I'm just an old lady. I don't know what I could possibly do for a young man like yourself. Caleb steps forward, and he kind of pulls back the sleeve of one of his arms, and even in this dim kind of firelight and such, you can see lines, markings all down the skin of his arm. And immediately you can tell that those are brands, those are caused by burns. Like the kind that someone would use on cattle or something along that lines. They're not cuts or anything like that, not tattoos. These marks have been burned into this man's skin. Ellis, though, these marks, they don't look. I mean, obviously, no man with marks burned into his skin like that looks normal, but there's something to these designs and symbols. Something dark, something unnatural. You can't quite tell just based on what little you can see what it could be, but it's obvious that there's something there that just ain't right. And go ahead.
I instinctually reach for something in my pocket. Kind of just almost making sure that it's still there. And if anybody is paying attention, there's almost like this blur that kind of comes around Ellis. And it doesn't seem like it necessarily hugs them. It's almost like it's something that's always there. And all of a sudden it makes itself known. It's kind of a shift in the air before it goes back to not being visible. And I kind of just take a deep breath, close my hands into fists, and try not to react in any other way.
Granny kind of tilts her head just a touch, glances over at you for a moment, before looking back to this man, Caleb. Wow, that's an awful march you got there, son. You want to tell me how you actually? You know what? I don't think this is the place. The widow Bondi, she let me stay at her house tonight so I don't have to walk all the way back to mine. Maybe if you can come back over there with me, we can take a look and see if there's something that we can do for you. Now, is that acceptable there, Mr. Caleb? He lets the sleeve fall back and he's kind of had his head tilted down and just kind of nods quietly. I'd be more than happy with any help you can give, ma'am. Gregory's standing there, and none of y'all have ever known Gregory to have any kind of oddities about him, any kind of truck with anything other than the day-to-day running of the show and all that. But he kind of looks at this and, Granny, it's been a while since I've seen anything of that nature. You need some help? She kind of... Well, Gregory, I don't know exactly what's going on here yet. But maybe if you could lend these folks to me for the evening, they could help me out and get things set up. Maybe we could figure out what's going on. She kind of looks pointedly at Ellis as she's saying this, before looking at each of you. Now, and there's a doctor too, huh? That could be mighty useful. Is that all right with you folks? You come give Granny a hand?
Yes,
Of
ma'am.
course.
I'm always happy to help.
All right. That's good. You got good people here, Gregory. Well, now that evening is ruined, there goes my nice quiet evening. Come on in, Yona. Let's head on over to the widow's house. And the widow,
Same thing. Poof. Beeline.
Yona, you would know that the widow Bondi kind of lives out on the outskirts on the other side of town. So
I'll just probably look at everyone and be like, it's a bit of a trek. Let's go.
So you head off, following Yona, and Caleb doesn't really say anything else. The way he moves, it's quiet. He doesn't make much sound, even with his steps and with the thick, heavy boots that he's got on and this kind of beat up old leather coat. It's almost like a whisper every step he takes. Compared to the way the rest of you move, which is all normal like. There's just something about him that just is quiet. Almost like he's hiding. So you kind of pass away from where all the torchlight and everything is. You pass out by the local church. Head on through the rest of town. You start heading out. The widow's house is maybe a good 15-minute walk once you pass the last of the little buildings there, so it's not terribly far, but it is dark. Moon's only a sliver in the sky, so there's not a whole lot of light out there. kind of start to pass into just the edge of the forest. And if I could have everybody make a quick check for me. This is going to be... I gotta remember what everything's called. Is it wits? What's it called? My brain is...
Intellect.
Intellect.
Intellect, that's the word. Sorry, my English suddenly skipped out on me there for a second. I need everybody to make an intellect check for me. And if you have anything that reduces the difficulty for a kind of a sensory thing, that would apply.
Would perception related tasks count?
Yes.
Delightful.
Listening and hearing, would that count?
Yep.
The D20 disappeared.
I don't suppose there'd be anything maybe hidden or unseen, possibly.
Yeah, I'll say that would apply.
Devlin's been kind of keeping an eye out. Maybe a little bit brighter green. Makes it a little bit easier to see stuff that's trying to keep itself hidden.
So your target normally is a 9. If you have anything to reduce that, drop it down by a step.
The pool doesn't like help you in any way right now, right? Like that's what you spin to do things later.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Cool beans.
But what about edges?
Solid, starting it off with a 1, baby.
Yona's just focused on making a path for Granny.
Right.
No
I am
other
just
thoughts.
making a path and just making sure that this guy doesn't like do something stupid. I'm paying attention to nothing, but he is walking and I am walking. And that's it.
I rolled an 11.
Okay. The 13.
I got 3.
So, no.
I got
I
a
got a
9.
Okay, so it looks like everybody except Taylor and Sean. Okay.
Mhm.
So, as you're passing into the woods here, it's still, the road is clear. It's not like you're traipsing through the underbrush or anything like that. You're definitely still on the road, but the trees are on both sides, and the canopy kind of reaches above you. And those of you who passed, you hear a whisper. It sounds like words, though none you can make out. Almost like you're hearing somebody on the other side of a door having a conversation with each other. And it seems like, yeah, there's a couple of different things. Somebody's out there talking. Sounds like somebody's kind of talking out on the right side there for a second, but almost like somebody on the other side answers them. You can't make out what they're saying, but that's not the noise you would associate with animals in the woods at night. It's just as quiet, susurrus of sound, but it sounds intentional, with purpose.
I stop walking.
Same.
I
I
will
do as well.
glance over to Stella. Do you hear something?
Always. But yes.
Ellis looks a little put off by that first answer. Having left camp, GM, would it be fair to say that Ellis is paranoid enough that I would have grabbed my machete before I left? Or and would Granny had like not condoned that? Because Ellis is also very respectful. If Granny said don't do that, cool.
Granny wouldn't have cared at all.
Cool. Then I'm going to draw my machete and blade at my side. I'm gonna start heading over to the right. I want to know what's in the woods.
What you hearing?
Somebody's talking. You don't hear that?
Now that they mention it, now that you're paying attention, you do hear a faint whispering sound coming
Granny,
from
you want me
both
to check it out?
sides.
Or is this one of those we just ignore it sort of situations?
Yeah. I'm not sure that we can afford to ignore it because, oh dear. And she looks more annoyed than anything. Like this is interfering with her business, and she ain't happy about that. Whatever it is, I think there's more than one. Oh god.
GM, what do I see?
You see the dark woods at the moment. You see underbrush. You don't hear any birds or squirrels or nothing else, though. You see just the faint moonlight, but mostly it's just shadows.
Even with see the unseen ability?
Yep. At the moment, yep. And I will say that the underbrush off to either side here is thick, heavy. So there's a fair chance that that could be interfering a little bit in your ability to see what might be in there.
Stepping
the
closer. Oh,
Oh, so did the other the y'all's little Volstock band guy come with us as well, or did he stay and just
No, he stayed back with the others.
okay?
It's just y'all, Granny, and Caleb right now.
as I'm
What
getting
is-
closer, can I make out anything?
Has anybody else done anything?
I'm gonna ask, what is Caleb doing?
Oh no.
Caleb is looking around, and that man looks frightened. And he is kind of moved towards the center of the group. And he's looking in basically, he's trying to look in every direction at the same time. Whatever his hearing has got him spooked something fierce. And he doesn't like it at all. And he's got his arms crossed over his chest, almost like he's trying to hug himself for warmth. God. Oh God.
Does this have anything to do with those markings on your arms, kid?
I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I think they found me. Ellis, as you move off, you start into the undergrowth. And Evelyn, you'd see this too. Something seems to kind of rise up out the brush. And for a moment, you think it's a wolf. Shaped like a wolf. Maybe a little bit bigger than most wolves you've ever seen, but looks like a wolf. At least at first glance. Then you start to notice slightly wrong. Shape is off. The legs are a little longer than they should be, and maybe a little thicker, heavier. And that's before you notice eyes. You should be able to see the reflection out here. There's not enough light for that. Even with a cat or anything like that, you gotta have some light to reflect those eyes. eyes. This, you're seeing that gleam, almost like you were shining a light directly at him. Raises up out of the brush and it kind of looks at you, and you can hear that whisper getting stronger.
Do we see this from the back or from the road?
Not yet. Not yet. Right now, it's just Evelyn and Ellis. I can see this one.
This one.
What would you like to do?
Ever seen anything like this before?
Nope.
Does it feel? Do I get that same uneasy feeling as I did when Caleb showed his brandings, or that he had been branded?
Very similar.
I would like to use my player intrusion because Ellis is freaking out if it feels the same and it is that close to them. One of my intrusions is sudden vision. A flash of insight provides you with a clear answer or suggests a course of action with regard to an urgent question, problem, or obstacle you're facing.
Hmm.
If it helps, I can share what Ellis's goal would be in the moment.
Yes.
I would want to make this. That means swinging the machete, turntailing and running into the woods, and like whichever direction that entails. But I want to get away from this thing safely.
Okay. Judging from what you're seeing of this thing and this feeling that you've got, you get the impression that whatever this is, it doesn't like the light. Whether that be firelight or moonlight or anything else. So you feel like the easiest way to get rid of it would be a light source of some kind.
Is anybody in the group carrying a light source? I have a lantern, I believe. I need to check my items.
I do.
I'm pretty sure
I don't
do.
see what's happening currently, but I do have light.
Oh, I have a flashlight because I took the travel pack. I would like to reach in, grab the flashlight, and shine it in its face, a la Dead by Daylight style.
Throw a pallet down his face and we
So
run
you
away.
Yep.
you so you click on the torch and just hit this thing full on with the beam, and you realize your first impression wasn't that far off. It definitely is wolf shaped, but it's like someone took a wolf and molded it a bit like it was clay. It seems kind of misshapen in that here it kind of divots in too much. There's more of like kind of lumps out. One leg is thicker than the others, while another one might be a little short. And its jaws maybe don't come together quite right. One is kind of turned off to the side, almost canted a little bit. Those eyes are still gleaming, and as that light hits it, it jerks back like instinctively, and that whispering sound kind of rises in pitch for a second as it scrambles to get away from that light and kind of dives back into the underbrush. And unlike before, when you didn't hear these things approaching, you hear it almost way through the brush and the weeds and the vines to get away from that light source. And you notice in its aftermath, as it's running away, there are almost looks like smoke in the air. Like if you were to take a branch that was on fire and you waved it around, it would leave like trails of smoke behind it. It's kind of what it looks like. And then you kind of dissipate fairly quickly, but it was definitely there. Now, about this same time, and you hear this more high pitched, almost whine that happened. This thing, but the rest of you now, as you're looking around, you see several more of these things on the other side and kind of towards the back.
Did they look
Like they had
familiar?
intended to surround you, almost. Though now there's definitely a hole in that ring that they were trying to create.
Do they look familiar to Yona at all?
Other than the fact that they resemble wolves,
Okay.
no. I will say that, based kind of on your just being around Granny enough and your own history and such, and the things that you know, um, it is likely that these things are not, shall we say, locked into this shape. It is likely that whatever these things are, and even as they're standing there now, you can see almost like smoke coming up in these faint wisps and such. That is a good chance that whatever these are can change the way they look. So potentially you might have encountered something like this in the past, but you can't know for certain because it could have looked entirely different and acted entirely different. A Granny is looking at these things, and she sees what happens with Ellis over here with the light. And she kind of smacks her cane on the ground. And, that's it. If you got a light, turn it on. These things don't like it.
I'll pull out like my lantern, so it's a round light, not just a beam, to try and give us a little bit of a bubble. Hold it. Ah.
Nice.
I also got a flashlight from a travel pack, so I'll also be brandishing that.
Ellis, are you
Granny?
staying out where you are? Or are you coming back to the group?
Hustling back to the group. And I will say that typically Ellis is very reserved and very mild-mannered, and there is an edge to them now. They're moving a lot quicker. They're very determined. They're very focused. That if anybody in the group has been in other situations with the Volstocks, they would recognize that Ellis has this response. Yona and Granny probably knew. Yona, you probably didn't catch on that Ellis had this in them. But they are full go mode. I'm going to back myself toward Caleb and make sure that whichever side of him that I am on, I keep the flashlight pointed so that he cannot be attacked from that side.
Anybody else have anything they want to do?
Evelyn is gonna look like with this illumination for on the ground, hopefully out somewhere of these creatures line of sight for like a good sized rock or a like fallen log or something, not like giant but big enough that if she pushes it off into the distance, it's gonna hopefully draw some attention.
I mean, it's not hard. And there's fallen branches here and there. You're right at you're kind of in the woods at the moment, so you've got lots of ammunition, so to speak.
She's just gonna probably backed up to Caleb on the whatever side Ellis is not, and just looking at like one of these, like, let's say like a decent sized like rock, stone. Anyone paying close attention is gonna notice her green eyes just kind of like go that color of like new leaf green, bright. Not quite the same reflectiveness that these creatures have, but I'm gonna take my intellect pool down by 2, and this stone is just gonna go flying.
So you're looking more to cause something out there rather than hit something, correct?
Yeah, there's a lot of these things, but if they think hopefully if they think something's out there more than just our little group, might at least draw some of them away.
You're seeing about 6 of them kind of around you right now, and as you reach out with, you know, that power that kind of resides in you, that connection to the green, and touches on one of the good sized stone off to the side of the road there or something, and whips it off into the distance. You hear that loud crack as it smacks against a tree trunk off there in the dark. And for an instant, they all stop moving, and almost, like that sound startled them. And you see several of those misshapen formed heads turn in that direction. A couple of them look at each other and take off, loping off into the brush, leaving behind those contrails of smoke, heading off at a pretty fast clip, looking to investigate whatever that noise was.
Gotta get moving. There ain't no outrunning these things, so we better outsmart them.
Yeah, short of catching the forest on fire, wait until daylight. I think we just need to get somewhere bright. Granny, you mind if I just,
Oh, fine, go ahead.
just run?
Everybody's running then?
Yep, gonna grab
Yeah,
hold of
absolutely.
Caleb's arms. Mr. Caleb, you're gonna be coming with me now. We're not gonna let you go gently into this night.
He doesn't say anything, but he willingly goes along with you. Takes off running with everybody else. Now the path going to the Wood of Bondi's house is easy to follow. It's the main road right out of town. It'll take you straight there. And as you go racing off down this road, of course, it's dirt, a little bit cold and such. You can hear them keeping pace with you, moving through the underbrush. Occasionally you see one dart across the road in front of you, like they're trying to circle you as you're going. But between those flashlights and the lantern, they can't seem to get close. You come inside of the widow's house, and there it is. It's lit up from the inside. There's a light hanging out on the front porch there. Simply because the widow knew that Granny was going to be coming by that night. So she's got it all lit up and everything for you in that kind of flickering yellow-orange firelight. And as you get closer, you can almost feel that this is a sanctuary from these things that are stalking you. From the left side, something rushes out of the woods towards you, sudden it's fast. Like, those of you who are familiar might liken it to a mountain lion. How fast they move when they strike. Because there's almost no way to react to it. But so this thing comes barreling out of there, intent on it. It's obvious. It's aiming straight towards Caleb. And it seems to hit that circle of light cast by Yona's lantern and squeals. It's not quite the same as what came up before when Ellis hit the one with the flashlight. It's like the difference between accidentally burning your hand on a flame and putting your whole and diving full on into the campfire. And it's like a scream. But it ain't no real animal can make that noise. But it ain't no human neither. Never heard anything like it. Hurts your ears. Makes your skin crawl all at the same time. Sharp and grating. It's like sets your teeth on edge. And then it's gone. Almost like it dissipates. Like crashing into that wall of light. Destroyed it and it just poofs away. You just see this cloud of smoke that dissipates real fast. And then you're up on the front porch. And that warm yellow light's coming out the windows. Everything's lit up around and goes quiet again. No more whispers, no more rustling. The only thing you can hear is your own breathing and the pounding in your own hearts. As you're standing there, Granny pokes you in the arm, Yona. I think you can put me down now, dear.
Sorry, ma'am. Got a little caught up.
She kind of looks around and steps to the edge of the porch, peers off into the forest. Yeah. Hey, this is a little more than I thought. Come on now, let's get inside. I feel we got some talking to do.
I reckon.
And she comes up, bangs on the door with her stick, and then walks right in. She doesn't even wait for an answer. And it's a modest-sized house, especially though. To be fair, for this area in this town, it's decent sized. A living room, dining room separate. Probably a few other rooms to boot. Yona, you know that the widow's husband had a decent amount of money that he made working on riverboats and such back in the day before they came out here. And so they built a nice house for this area. Better than what most have. Just the widow there now. The widow, of course, comes making her way out from the kitchen. She's got her hair up in a bonnet. She's silver gray. And she don't look quite as old as Granny, but she looks like she's giving her a run for her money. And she kind of stops seeing all of these people in her house, and here she is in her nightrobe. And she just looks at Granny like, what the hell are you doing? Doesn't say a word, and then just shuffles back into the kitchen. And you hear some clattering and some muttering in the back there. Sounds like
I
she's
would know
starting to
her
put
like
on
pretty
tea or
decently.
something. Yeah, she's
well, right?
she's a decent friend of Granny's. You've been here a number of times.
think I try to go to the kitchen and get her to futz off somewhere else, and I'll hand it up like, make yourself comfortable. We're intruding.
She, unlike Granny, who is just domineering and imperious and tells everybody what to do, Wittabandi is more of a she's more of a quiet person, and she is just a bit overwhelmed at having all this company this late at night, and you managed to convince her to toddle off to her room and get some rest, and then you'll explain in the morning. And so everybody gathered around. She had started to put together the makings of tea, is what she was
I'll
doing.
finish it.
Yeah. Starting to put the kettle on and such.
Also look under some floorboards for some moonshine. Feels like we're gonna need a heavier drink tonight.
Well, you're probably not going to find it at the Wittabandis.
I'm like, damn it, all of these are stuck good.
Now, Granny out in the other room kind of climbs her way into a rocking chair there in the living room. There's a few other places to sit, but not so much for this many folks. So and she just kind of waves at y'all to take a spot where you can and get comfortable. Before she kind of looks pointedly Caleb. Caleb has he looks kind of sheepish, and you can see him a little better now in this light. You've got a nice lantern going on in here, a couple candles to boot, and he pulls off that wide-brimmed hat. And at first guess, you look at his face and you think, this man's probably in his 40s. Something along those lines, maybe a well-preserved 50-something. Lines at his eyes, sides of his face. Kind of weathered skin. Probably someone who's spent most of his time working outside in the sun and the wind and the weather. The eyes don't look right. Look young. They're bright. Look like the eyes of someone much younger. But they also almost have a gleam to them that you tend to associate with sick people. People have a fever, they get kind of that shine to their eyes. And Emil, that's something that you know well, that look, because you've seen many people with, whether it's an infection or flu or something, you've seen that look in people's eyes many times before. Otherwise, you don't notice anything that would make you think he's sick, but just that look in his eyes. He doesn't say anything to y'all, but he kind of glances around the room, and it's like kind of sheepish, like he's embarrassed. But at the same time, that fear is still clinging to him. And he glances at the window more than once, like he's just waiting to see something out there trying to come in. Granny takes her stick and knocks it on the floor. All right, now. That's enough of that feeling sorry for ourselves, and need you to get on with it. Show me what it is that you need to show me, Mr. Caleb. Tell me why you come here. Caleb nods wordlessly and pulls off his coat, lets it drop. See, underneath he's just got a short sleeve shirt buttoned up, and definitely worse for wear. Like he's been on the road for who knows how long at this point. It's battered and dirty and not in great shape. The edges are tattered. There's a rip here and there, and both arms are covered with those same marks, those same brands, all up and down both sides. And where the top button is, there's that little V right there. You can see the edges of what look like more. That is chest, just below the neck. I don't remember. I don't remember much. I used to work in a sawmill in Alabama. And I remember being at work, and then the whistle blew and I was heading home, and next thing I know, I'm in a house. I don't recognize it. I don't know whose house it is, but it's a big old house and fancy furniture and fixings, and there's just people, and they got metal rods, and he just kind of looks at his arms and like he can't say the next part, but it's obvious. I don't know how long I was there. Somehow or another, I managed to sneak out the back door. I don't remember. I told you I don't remember much. It's kind of a blur. I would pass out and then wake up someplace else. Like my mind was gone, but I was still walking. And then a couple days ago, I found that I was in a town called Potterville, not too far from here, and I managed to catch wind of Granny's name. Said she could help folk that needed helping, that, well, with the weird stuff. And so I started walking this way, and that's when I found y'all. I don't know what's going on. I don't know where else to go or what to do. And he kind of slumps down in the middle of the floor, kind of sitting there, and pulls his knees up, one hand over his face. And Emil, you've seen burn marks before. You've seen the aftermath of burn marks and how long it takes to heal and such. And at a glance, you'd probably guess that these are maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks old. These burn marks that you can see on his arms, these brands. It's an educated guess, shall we say. But you're fairly confident in it. Granny just watches all this without saying anything. Kind of nods to herself. Looks over at Ellis. You ever seen the like of this?
Have I been able to put my finger on what exactly I am seeing right now?
Not quite. You've never seen anything exactly like this, but some of the marks bear at least a modicum of resemblance to things that you've witnessed in the past. Almost like a calling of some kind. Like some of these marks are used for contacting things and rituals and such.
Are these things I would have seen back home?
No.
Or is this? Okay.
This is
Okay.
more things that you have learned since coming here.
Okay.
That, and while they do bear some resemblance to some of the things that you know from back home, because there's definitely some universal crossover with some
Mm-hmm.
elements and ideas and such. There's enough difference that someone could look at it and be like, no, this is not from that region of the world.
Okay. Then I will, keeping my eyes on Caleb, just tell Granny nothing specific, but that looks like some kind of ritual calling. I don't know if it'd be summoning him to some place or summoning something here, but some distance from him might be good.
Definitely seems like he brought something here.
Some
Something
kind
bad
of
enough to
nod.
about kill itself to get him.
And things in the woods, well, I don't think them things had the brain to think of anything themselves. Them ain't nothing but guard dogs. You know, they set the
Hunting
hounds
dog.
after someone. Hunting dog, there you go. That's a servant's what that is. Whoever did all of this, well, gotta be the same one who sent them dogs. I'm getting too old. I can't remember everything anymore.
I mean,
It's some
if
sort of like. Oh, you go.
if
I'm
it's on
just
his
speculating.
skin, is there the possibility they want him back because they're trying to call something into him?
I mean, that
Right?
could be.
No bigger prison than the flesh, after all.
That's mighty insightful, and that very well could be. Hmm. Well, ain't nothing before it, but I need some more information.
Say it one more time.
Unfortunately, that information ain't here. It's back at my house.
Yeah.
I
Can we
need
do
my
this
book.
now?
I think we need to.
I don't feel quite right leaving Caleb here unattended with you.
Well, I don't think you got to worry about him. This
Now I'm
place
worried about
is
what's coming after him.
this place has been here for a long time, and I've done my best. Make sure things that ain't wanted here don't come in. I got stuff buried out there in the yard even the widow don't know about. Ain't nothing coming in here that I don't want to come in here.
Make
I
sure
gotta
some of the
have that book
light's
if
not
I'm
on
gonna figure
battery,
anything out.
just in case.
Yeah. Be alright for now. I hate to ask you, but you feeling up to going and fetching me a few things?
Y'all want to go for a hike with me, or am I risking my skin alone?
I'll come with you.
I'll come too.
It's all right with all of you. I think I'd like to spend some time marking these down, and I'm going to pull out my notebook and kind of start to detail. And I'll stay behind if I need to kind of detail all the different marks that I see, the frequency, sketching out whatever those wolf things were in the woods, kind of trying to make sure that I have it all down in the notebook.
I mean, I'm not much of a fighter, but I can definitely accompany you, especially if I can stop back by our camp and pick up a book of my own.
Yeah, I mean, whatever you did out there was mighty helpful, so might not be a fighter, but you got useful tools. What all you need other than your book, Granny?
I need the big map that's rolled up on is rolled up, bound up, and sitting on top of the bookcase. And I'm gonna need to. So if you go into my bedroom, there's that box with all the jewelry in it. There is a purple gemstone on a silver chain. I need those three things, and maybe we can figure some things out.
Well, all right. And we'll like walk over to probably like a little cupboard that's kind of like in the mudroom entryway
Mhm.
and just pull it open and grabs like one hatchet, puts it on one shoulder's hip, the other, a big axe on the back, and then a shotgun. I'm ready.
I'll
You
make sure and
definitely
tell
look
the
pretty
widow you took all
prepared.
her stuff. She knows you'll take care of it. So you got Yona, Virgil.
Mhm.
Who else said they were going? Okay,
Stella.
Evelyn, Stella. What's Emil doing?
I think Emil would like to stay behind so he can do an examination on Caleb, just to get a better feel for his health and see if there's anything he can do to ease his mind or ease his body, anything like that.
Okay. So with that in mind, y'all were going to stop by and pick up some stuff of Evelyn's, yes?
Sounds good.
So as we split the party, as one does, the group that's leaving, you step back out onto the porch once you've gotten yourselves all settled and ready to go. And first thing you notice is Whippoorwill, kind of off in the distance. Now, those of you who know the woods, and well, at this point, it's pretty much all of you have been around forest and these mountains and hills. And if the birds are singing, there's a good chance that there's not anything too dangerous lurking about. Whippoorwills aren't liable to be hanging around where there's some unknown shadowy smoke monsters of some kind. Just the same, I imagine you all still keeping those light sources handy.
Oh yeah.
Especially if it's a whippoorwill.
And you head back cautious, and I assume cautiously and not just running pell-mell back for the town.
Yeah, keeping an eye out on everything. And
Fiona, if you're gonna be so armed, would you like me to carry the lantern? That way you don't have to fumble with it.
that'd be mighty helpful, actually. Yeah. Hand it over. I think like shotgun is still definitely in hand,
Mhm.
just in case. Like she's pretty sure that this does not matter to these like smoke beings, but gonna just in case.
If Evelyn takes the lantern, I'm gonna kind of stay towards the front of the pack and kind of be on the lookout for anything that's trying to hide itself.
And mind, as you're walking, something catches your eye a little bit down the path. You look down, and it's not a paw print necessarily because it's fairly dry and such. It's more like gouges where perhaps something went to gain traction or something of that nature. And gouge claws through the dirt. And that's 3 marks. And you ain't no veterinarian or nothing, but
I do have identifying plants and creatures trained skills.
well, this ain't look like any kind of animal you ever seen. You can't think of anything that leaves claw marks like that. Thick, and the marks aren't the same. They're not regular. Like almost like each of them claws was like a different width and depth, which kind of matches up with the kind of misshapen, deformed nature of those things. But other than that, you don't see any signs of the critters. And by the time you make it back, okay.
I'm just trying with tracking. Can I tell just in general direction? Like, is that possibly they came running after where we were, or are they running off somewhere else?
From the way it looks like this was moving towards the way you're coming from now. So it was
Gotcha.
like you get the idea that maybe this was the one that crashed into the light and disappeared. Like in the process of making that leap, it dug those furrows as it was trying to gain purchase. But other than that, you don't see any signs.
Those things definitely aren't any natural beast, of course, but hopefully it means they're far off and gone.
I hope so.
They just waiting somewhere for whoever blows the whistle for them.
Well, I sure as heck ain't gonna wait for that.
No.
No.
You did something earlier with that stone. You said you need to pick up some more things. I guess what sort of training?
Your
you've
granny
got?
has her own books, and my handmother had the same, and well, I'm the one inheriting them.
That makes me feel a little safer, honestly.
So you make it back to the town without any issues. It's quiet. Everybody's already gone off to their homes and everything. The last of the crew and the musicians and such have basically packed themselves away for the night. Other than the one guy who kind of fell asleep on top of one of the wagons and is snoring to beat anything. Fairly quiet. And you're able to get back and get into your own personal belongings without an issue. And grab what you need. As for 2 who stayed behind, the first thing that Granny kind of pushes y'all to do is just to have the doctor there check out Mr. Caleb. And so soon enough, he's sitting in the middle of the floor, shirt stripped off and everything, submitting himself to whatever medical tests and poking and prodding that the doctor wants. He's a very quiet and submissive patient. Honestly, you get the feeling that whatever fight he had in him has kind of been pushed down and beaten out of him at this point. He just kind of feels broken a little bit. Now, looking at him physically, you can obviously there's all the marks down his arms, his chest, and his back. You don't have any trouble copying all those down into your book and everything else. But Emil, physically, other than all these marks and brands, and just the fact that it doesn't seem like he's probably eaten much in the past few days at least, you're not finding really anything wrong with him. At least up until you realize that he looks in his late 40s. All his physical signs and everything are pretty match up what you would expect from someone at that age. And he tells you that he's actually 23 years old. And you're listening to that heartbeat and that breathing, and that don't match up.
So it sounds like. Are you sure you're about that? Are you sure you're not? Sounds like you're missing Sounds like you're missing time.
I mean, I can't remember a whole lot from the past few weeks, but I know how old I am. That much I'm sure of.
Seems like whatever they did to you took more from you than you realized. Do you let me know if you're hurting any? Can't do much about these marks at this point, but I can see about getting you something that'll soothe it.
They itch, but it don't hurt none.
That means they're
Just
healing.
awfully tired. And yeah, he's in the moments that you're not like, actively poking and prodding at him and such. You notice he has a tendency to kind of stare off into space and rock back and forth just a little bit. And it's like he's thinking of something else. His attention's not here unless you're actively engaging with him. Now, throughout this process, Granny doesn't say a whole lot. She seems thoughtful, and mostly she kind of looks at all these different markings as she's thinking and makes little sounds and the like. And occasionally she looks over at what Ellis is doing, and I think that line right there, I think needs to be a little bit more that way there, honey.
I follow all of Granny's instructions.
He's like, okay, my hands ain't steady enough to draw this kind of thing no more, but my eyes are still pretty decent.
That's all right, ma'am. I trust you.
And so that's how the night begins. We've got one group ready to head off on their own into the darkness, see if they can't fetch what needs to be fetching. The other group staying behind, see what they can figure out from our poor unfortunate victim here. As for what happened next, well, I guess we'll find that out next time. But for now, I think it's time that we kind of go around and just let everybody tell you who they are and where you can find them real quick, and then we'll get on out of here. Kian, who are you?
I was ready this time. Hello. My name is Kian. My pronouns are they, he. You can unfortunately still find me on Twitter at uptight_chiffon. I have not really using my blue sky yet. Uptight-chiffon over there. Follow me on social media, and that is where you will figure out where I'm going to be next.
Righty. And then we're going to go down. I don't know if I need to find you on Blue Sky or something like that. I know I had you on Twitter, but I don't do that anymore. So, JD.
Hey, I'm JD. You can find me as JD Lane everywhere on the internets. And
Okay. And Alice.
Hi guys, I am Alice. You can find me on Twitter at HellionHeart, Blue Sky at Alice Heart. I try and claim Alice Heart wherever I can. That's where you're gonna find me primarily, though, unfortunately. Yeah.
Omen.
Omen, you can find me over on Blue Sky and Omen Zunia. And that's about it.
And Sean.
Hi, I'm Sean. You can find me on Twitter at the Sidian, SCIDIN, and everywhere else as just Sidian. Not that I post anything or do anything, but you can find me.
And Taylor.
Hi, I'm Taylor, or at Potato on Blue Sky. You can put some underscores before and after that. That's why I'm on Twitter. I think that's all we're saying. I've been Yona today.
Well, and that's going to do us for this episode. We appreciate you all stopping by and taking a look and sitting with us. And we would absolutely love it if you decided to come by and check out the next episode where we're going to find out just, well, maybe just find out what's going on with Mr. Caleb and why the strange, misshapen smoke wolf things were just so intent on tracking him down. Or, maybe we'll just kill everybody and get a TPK in the second episode. You never know. But
That's a third episode.
anyway, that's third episode. Okay, we'll plan that for the third episode.
Yeah.
Other than that, I am Rise, aka Sean. However you want to find me, Blue Sky, RIZE. Come find us on Discord and play some games with us. All right. I look forward to seeing you next time, and everybody take care of yourselves.